Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pitch Please, the show where we talk about movies good and bad and then try to pitch something better. As always, I'm Alex.
And I'm Troy. We're both filmmakers, and I'm a film educator, and we like to talk about movies all the time. And we like to find movies that are good, but yet have some issues and some problems with them. And then we talk about how we could fix those problems in a simple way. And then in the end, we come up with a pitch for either a sequel if we like the movie or a redo if we didn't really care for it as much.
Yeah, so this is episode 7. If you haven't seen any of our earlier episodes, go check those out on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure to drop us a like and a follow. And we hope that you enjoy episode 7 of Pitch Please. Okay, so the movie that we are talking about today, and this episode and the next episode are actually going to be kind of working together because we are doing the two Pirates of the Caribbean sequels. Dead Man's Chest is going to be what we're starting with today. We're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. That one was produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and directed by Gore Verbinski. The screenplay was by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. Cinematography was done by Darius Wolski, editing by Stephen E. Rivkin and Craig Wood, and the production design was done by Rick Heinrichs. It stars Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, and Bill Nighy, among a few others. And it had a budget, I believe, of $225 million. Very, very big budget, which is really cool to see.
Especially for the time.
Yeah, no, that was back in, I think, yeah, it came out in July 6th of 2006. So a lot of money for that. It ended up doing really well, though. It grossed domestically $423 million, a little over that. And worldwide, it did a little over $1 billion, which is absolutely crazy.
Right.
That's a lot of money for any movie, and especially a movie back in 2006. $1 billion is pretty unheard of. So that's really, really cool. It is a sequel to The Curse of the Black Pearl, the first sequel to The Curse of the Black Pearl. And on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it a 53% and audience gave it a 72%.
So the synopsis of the movie goes like this. In Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, Will Turner and Elizabeth Swan's wedding is interrupted by Lord Cutler Beckett, who has warrants for their arrest due to their involvement with Captain Jack Sparrow. Jack, hunted by the Kraken for unpaid debt to Davy Jones, is searching for the dead man's chest to free himself from Jones's servitude. Beckett offers Jack a pardon and a letter of marque in exchange for Jack's compass, which points to one's deepest desire. Meanwhile, Jack's crew aboard the Black Pearl is in pursuit of a mysterious key, while Will searches for Jack and is caught up in a series of dangerous encounters involving cannibals and the Flying Dutchman. The plot thickens as Jack seeks to settle his debt with Jones, who demands 100 souls in exchange for Jack's freedom. Will and Jack exchange in a high-stakes game to find the key that unlocks the dead man's chest, leading to a confrontation on Ilo Cruces over the heart of Davy Jones, which controls the fate of the Flying Dutchman. Amid a chaotic three-way battle for the heart between Jack, Will, and Norrington, the Kraken attacks the Black Pearl, sinking the ship and leaving the survivors stranded. Jack sacrifices himself to the Kraken to save his crew, but his fate is uncertain. As the remaining crew members seek to rescue Jack from the afterlife, they are unexpectedly joined by a resurrected Captain Barbossa, setting the stage for a new adventure.
And that is, in short, Dead Man's Chest. Let's get into it. So, I think starting with positives, I did think they had a very good setup just of the stakes in the beginning. Will and Elizabeth, they're going to be married, but that gets interrupted by Beckett. And they get arrested because of Jack Sparrow, and so it does a good job of introducing this new antagonist, Lord Cutler Beckett. We find out, Norrington's kind of resigned and nowhere to be found. And then Will and Elizabeth are threatened with death if they don't help Like, I think that was a really great way to just kind of introduce new stakes and kind of get the story going in a very quick manner.
Right, yeah, life and death stakes, get those stakes going right away.
Mhm.
And they do set up in this movie a series of easy objectives, pretty standard objectives like, hey, find a person, find a key, find a compass, find this, find that,
Right.
find this, find that, which makes it an easy setup
Mhm.
for some adventurous storytelling for sure. I like
Absolutely.
that.
It's one of those things where, yeah, the simpler the task, the more intricate you can get. Like, yeah, good movies are usually the simplest ones in concepts.
Right.
Find the compass, find Jack.
Before we get into the story too much, though, I think the PD on this was really awesome. The
Oh, yeah.
production design and the costumes were, they were just top notch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know at that point how much of it was CG, PD, or it
Mm-hmm.
was actually built production design. But the ships I know are pretty amazing.
The ships are something spectacular, and I mean, going from the first movie to now, you've got even more ships, and I'm pretty sure they built most of them. At the very least, they built the decks
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, yeah, it is an impressive feat, and I don't know how you go about doing that.
Yeah, and the costumes are so great too.
They are.
So I think all that lended really well to the story. I mean, it really was pretty much a continuation of the first one, which
Yeah.
I love the first one.
Yes, that is to me, that is a near perfect movie.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic film.
And the rumor is that was written, filmed, and edited in less than a year. And for such a well-made movie, it's with all that production design and costumes and locations, all these exteriors, that was pretty impressive.
It is. Well, it helps when I think it was what the highest, biggest budget movie of all time or something, or the most expensive movie ever made at the time.
That I don't know.
I think I heard
I think
something like
Avatar, Titanic might have been
maybe it's a little more, but I heard
the time.
Pirates of the Caribbean was upwards of like 300 or 400 million, I think, for the first one. So it makes.
Golly, and you rush it too.
I
Let's
think,
get done in a
don't
year.
quote me on that. I haven't,
Yeah,
I
no
haven't looked in
quotes.
that, but
Yeah, quote you.
I've heard it's one of the highest, like, most expensive movies ever made. But
But it was well done, and I think everybody did a great job. And
it was well worth it.
this, these two sequels, I don't know if they ever planned to have them. It felt kind of like The Matrix, when The Matrix did really well, and they go, "Oh, money, we need money.
Yeah.
Let's do 2 additional movies, and then later on another one. Give me a break." So I felt like this was such a great hit. They're like, "Oh, money, let's make it a trilogy." And so this one, that's where we run into problems with this in terms of the story, because in the first one, the characters had some really definitive character traits.
Right.
So, like, what's Will's character trait?
He's in love with Elizabeth, and he's an honorable man that wants to save Elizabeth. And that's his whole arc.
That's his whole arc. He's honorable. He'll do anything for her.
Yep.
And he's willing to fight for her. But he tries to do the right thing. Jack in the first movie, he never lies, which is the joke. I love that joke in the first movie.
Same.
Is he always tells the truth, but nobody believes him.
Right, because pirates are supposed to be liars, and thieves, and he's just straight up honest and tells you exactly what he's planning and wants to do.
Yeah.
And then no one believes him because they think he's lying.
And then Elizabeth, obviously, she likes, she ends up liking Will, and she also is an honorable person as well. But this movie, I think, for the sake of creating more movies for more money, the big problems we had is that they really took the characters and those traits, and they really spun them around in not a good way.
Right. So for me, yeah, one of the things that I didn't like is when we first see Jack in this film, he doesn't have a plan. And like that was his whole persona in the first movie. He's like he always had a plan. He was always thinking, 7 steps ahead of like, how can I get what I want? How can I work every angle? He shows up at Port Royale, looking for a ship to go plunder and pillage and sail to Tortuga. And that was his plan. And then once he learns new things about Will and stuff, like he can follow that plan to get what he wants and ultimately then, which is the Black Pearl. And in this one, he's got the pearl, he's got the rum, he's got his crew.
He's got everything.
He doesn't need anything else. And
that's a good point.
And so he finds this drawing of a key
Oh,
He doesn't really know what it is, I don't think.
I don't think he does either.
And he just finds it, but he's not really sure where he wants to go with it or what it's going to unlock. And so to me, he was just aimless, and it wasn't Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, and that's so true, because in the first movie, even when he did things that looked like accidents, it worked to his favor, almost as if he knew an accident would work to his favor, which was, that's just fun storytelling, and that's just,
He's an interesting character.
He's a really interesting character. But when a character, like, the whole point of a story is a character has an objective,
Yes.
Whether really subtle, like, like a personal drama or something, like it's like a kind of an underneath objective, like a personal or emotional objective. But in an action movie, it's usually like 99 times out of 100. No, I'd say 99.99 times out of 100. The objective is really clear. We have to know what the objective is.
Right. From the start.
And they pursue the objective. And for him to have be in a movie where he doesn't know what he wants, he's a pirate. He steals for he knows exactly what he wants. And so it was just kind of like you said, what the heck, man? Jack Sparrow doesn't know what he wants. That was dumb.
Right. And then of course they try to give him an objective, which is just to survive, with Bootstrap Bill showing up and giving him the black spot and saying his time's up, Davy Jones coming back. But that was such a weak objective too, because again, it's like a survival movie. It's just,
that's a different movie.
It's a completely different movie. Like, he doesn't have anything to pursue now. It's just, okay, get away from water. That's simple enough. Like they're surrounded by islands. Yeah, he just beaches the ship and they just hike inland. That could have been the end of the movie, but that's super boring. So again, I think he finds out about the key in Davy Jones' heart, at the midpoint.
Right.
That's when he finally learns what he can go after and stuff. And so again, it's like we spend half the movie where he's just trying to survive and save his own skin.
And he's wandering, and he's weak. And
that's so weird. I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is that in the original he was very charismatic, and yes, he always protected himself. He always got himself out of harm's way. But you never got the idea that he was afraid.
Right. He could talk his way out of any situation.
He could talk his way out. He was charming. He's charming and he's clever. And in this movie, he's afraid. Yeah. And it's not impressive as a character.
Right, because in the first one, he always had some sort of leverage. Whether or not you actually knew he had leverage or not, and whether or not he actually had it or not, he always found some sort of way to have leverage. And then in this one, he has no leverage whatsoever. And then he doesn't know, it seems like he doesn't know how to get that leverage back, and so he just panics and runs. Yeah, it is weird. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. And it's almost like it was filler for him for half a movie. As if we need to keep Jack around in the storyline, and then we'll give him something to do on the other back half after the midpoint.
Right.
Oh, come on, guys. Let's not do that.
Yeah. So, I guess going from completely tearing it apart, there are some good things. There are some fun stuff that I do enjoy. I like the first introduction of the Kraken. We find out, the Kraken might come after him. His hat gets floating away, and then we see the Kraken just destroy this ship. We never see it. It never reaches its tentacles out. It's just you see the ship, and all of a sudden the ship just gets snapped in half and sucked underwater. And that's it. I'm like, the first time I saw that, freaked me out. I have a fear of the ocean to begin with.
And big ships.
Don't like big ships. I don't like slimy sea creatures, and I don't really like the ocean. So that really freaked me out the first time I saw it. But it was a great introduction to just how serious this issue is.
Yeah.
The Kraken's coming after you if you don't pay up. Oh, shoot. That's the Kraken.
Yeah. What a great thing, too. They did the Jaws approach.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, don't show it. Everyone's afraid of what they... the imagination conjures up more after what they can't see. But it was cool. I thought that was pretty sweet too. It's like, oh my gosh, this Kraken thing is pretty sweet.
It got very intense, very quick. And it's like, oh shoot, that's what's after him,
right?
Yeah, I'd be out of there too. I'd never sail again.
What was really interesting though, and I don't mean to cut you off, but but the idea of the Kraken would break these ships in half, and they would still be floating. You ever notice that? Like the ships are broken. Like I think one of them got sucked underneath, but
Yeah.
later on the Kraken breaks ships, and they're broken in two. But yet, so that the whole crew doesn't die, it can get somewhere safely. This ship is still floating. Okay.
Maybe they got washed up on some shoals or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, you can.
That's the simple argument. But I hear what you're saying. I know the Caribbean's not too terribly deep, but still,
That's not deep enough.
Deep enough, and a hole in a ship just kind of makes it go underwater.
It's been known to.
Yeah. Just ask the Titanic.
What else you got?
Okay, so
You get more positives than I did.
Yeah, so I do enjoy. I did enjoy kind of just the whole chase with the cannibals at the beginning too.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's a fun thing. It was a lot of fun action. Again, for entertainment value, it's really well done.
Yeah.
Like, they're rolling in some bone cage,
I know,
getting shot at, and Jack's, got stuck to a post. Like, it was just it was a fun little chasing to do. And so I did enjoy that a lot. And I thought, again, it was just a fun way to get them back onto the ocean. Will finds Jack there, and that kind of starts them back on this adventure.
Yeah.
And that's where we sort of see Jack kind of get a plan, but not really still.
Yeah.
And I like they do have some good bits of comedy. One of my favorite parts is when they visit Tia Dalma, and he offers up, the undead monkey. And he's like, undead monkey, and just shoots it.
I mean, that's funny.
Like, it was really funny. And then she lets it out of the cage. Like, you don't know how long it took us to get him in there. Like, that, it was really funny. And again, it's like, I enjoyed those bits of comedy. Again, it made the movie very enjoyable, interspersed in some of the ridiculousness. So
yeah, I think also, there was multiple sword fighting sequences in there. A lot of fun. You can't go wrong with sword fighting. So it's especially when you got 3 people fighting or an odd number and.
Yeah, well, that's something they established in the first movie that I'm happy they continued on with movies 2 and 3. Is just kind of these uniquely set up sword fights. In the first one, we've got the sword fight between Jack and Will in the blacksmith shop, and that was such a unique sword fight.
That was really fun.
And so, like, towards the end of the last sword fight of the movie, Will, Jack, and Norrington are fighting, and they're fighting on like on a wheel after fighting up the tower. Like, that was such a fun way to do it, and I thought it was so well choreographed, and like it makes a sword fight, which is interesting already, more interesting by giving them a bunch of obstacles and extra dangers other than the swords that they're worried about while sword fighting. And it's just it was super well choreographed. Whoever the stunt coordinator was for that, like, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how they went about doing those fight sequences, because it's just there's so much involved with them, and I loved it. Every second of it.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's true. Yeah. And so in terms of just satisfying visual eye candy, I think these movies, they do a great job. They got great PD, they got great costumes, they got great fight scenes, they got unique little problem settings, being chased by cannibals and whatnot. And that's great, and I like that, and I'm willing to pay for that, sure. But we're here also to talk about story and some struggles with the story. I don't even know why I'm bringing this up because it's so minor, but when they're doing the fruit and the vegetables, when he's gonna be cooked, and one of them's a bunch of our pineapples. Like, there's no pineapples. I don't think there's any pineapples in the Caribbean. I think that's all out in Hawaii and whatever. So
maybe
I don't need to nitpick that bad. That's pretty good.
I mean, it's funny, but no, there were definitely a lot of issues story wise. Because again, a sword fight can't carry your whole movie, and they had a lot of sword fights throughout the movie, which is a lot of fun. But again, it can't carry your plot. It can't carry your characters. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So a part where Davy Jones asks Will, "Can you condemn a friend while you roam free?" And Jack what's that? What did I say?
You said Will, but it was Jack.
Oh, yeah, where Davy Jones asks Jack,
and
you can condemn a friend while you roam free, meaning condemn Will.
Right.
And Jack quickly says yes.
Yeah, with no remorse whatsoever.
Yeah, and so that bit of dialogue, it skews his character. We get that he's selfish, but he's never been that selfish.
Right.
And so just even to change that up a bit, maybe not even have that line in there, or maybe even have him ponder it for a minute would have been a comic thing. You know, yes, as
Right.
opposed to just right away.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one too, but that was something I feel like because that didn't feel like Jack's character.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things in this movie that didn't feel like Will or Elizabeth's character either, or Norrington.
So much.
Like, so they all were established, you know, people in the first movie. They all had their code of honor. They all had their code of ethics. And this one, it's the exact. They're all the exact opposite.
They just flipped.
So, like, you know, in the first one, Jack never lied,
Mm-hmm.
and in this one, he lies to everyone.
He lies all the
Constantly.
time.
Like, he lies to Will about going over to Davy Jones' ship. Like, he cons him into doing that. He lies to Elizabeth about, you know, like, wanting to find Will, that he was taken by Davy Jones, and then completely, wholeheartedly admits, like, yep, I've been lying to you this whole time.
Yeah.
And it was just, again, it wasn't the right character. They were all wrong. Will, later on, is totally fine with Norrington killing Jack. And in the first movie, like, he had this code of honor where he didn't want Jack to die. He always tried to save him.
And he literally saves him in the first movie. Like, he saves him from being hanged.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, and you know, they were helping Jack, and they even demand he be called Captain Jack Sparrow. And now he's like, yeah, Norrington, go ahead. Off him. I don't care. Like, what? No, you don't say that.
Exactly.
Bonehead.
And yes, 100%. And then Elizabeth was never into Jack in the first one.
Oh my gosh.
And then in this one, for some reason, she starts to get this thing for him, and I can never, like, sometimes I thought she was just trying to play him to, like, get him to do stuff, but then other times I was like, well, she's going way further than just playing him. Like, she seems to be actually
into him,
which is, again, so against the character. She's, like, repulsed by him in the first movie.
Repulsed.
And that's the comedy of it, and that's the joke. It's like he tried, you know, when they're stranded on an island, she wants nothing to do with him. It's like...
It was very forced, very contrived manipulation of people's characters in order to squeeze out 2 more movies and create false conflict.
Right. And then the last person I'll talk about, before, and because this is the only other character that I feel like I want to talk about, and then we can just continue on, is Norrington as well.
Yeah.
He's different. Like, he was a man of honor. He had, you know, he was Commodore Norrington, you know, he led men. He was, you know, respectable. He was a honorable person. And in this one, he straight up, you know, steals from Jack and Will, and he's trying to kill them all. And it's like he's only trying to steal from them to restore his own honor. And it's like, that's really dishonorable. Like, leaving these guys to die as you just hightail out there for your own benefit. Like, that's just, again, no one was the character they were established as, and it was just off.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
No, I didn't either. It was very frustrating. And just to see Elizabeth getting into Jack and going,
I really messed you.
Yeah, it did. Boy, it pissed me right off. And it's like, and I'm thinking at first, like, I thought, I was like, okay, well, maybe she's trying to, you know, seduce him. But then upon further watchings of the movie, you get like, she keeps looking at him. Oh, and then Norrington says to her at one point, I have in here in my notes, she's like, I wish you would look at me like the way you look at Jack. And like, wait, what? And then you think, oh, dude, he's right. She is looking at him that way.
And she realizes it too. It was so weird.
It was so bad, and I feel it was unnecessary.
Just wrong.
And then Jack asks her to marry him.
Right.
Oh, what is happening here?
Yeah, no, that was really awkward for me.
Do we have any fixes? Because we usually give fixes.
For that, I mean, you just revert them back to who they were.
Just revert them back to who they were.
Because it still would have been, you still could have had the same story with the characters you knew, which again, those characters were more interesting than these ones. Right. It's like, these ones just played into stereotypical, he's a liar, he's gonna play him, you know, he just starts to care about, like, and so, like, he basically just fall into these really dull stereotypes with how they made them this time. It's like how they were in the original movie.
Right.
Went against kind of the stereotypes, and it was more interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the fix I would have done, is just revert them back to how they were, who they are.
And Jack and Elizabeth being together and just arguing and bickering because she doesn't like him would have been just fine.
Yeah.
I would have been fine with that. And so
That's still conflict.
It didn't need to have this contrived, now she's into him. She's not into him. Like, Will's like a young, handsome guy she's in love with.
Who she was going to
She
marry.
was literally going to marry, and then Jack is this stinky, seedy old pirate, like, come on, guys. Are you kidding me right now?
That was just weird.
So that wasn't good.
Yeah. So one thing, this was at the very beginning. I'm gonna start trying to go through
Oh yeah, probably
constructive notes because there's a lot here. So like Lord Beckett offers one pardon, only one pardon,
Just one.
to Jack. He says he's gonna give it to Jack after arresting Will and Elizabeth for, piracy. And for some reason, they're too stupid and gullible to realize there's only one pardon, and they're probably not going to get set free if they do this. Because why would a man like Beckett honor his word and let them free? And to me, that, again, was really weird because they're both pretty smart, I thought, in the first one.
Yeah.
And in this one, they both just assume he's going to hold to his word.
Clearly, he's not a respectable guy. Yeah, that was kind of dumb.
Yeah, like, it took Elizabeth's dad telling her, like, he only offered one pardon to make her realize, like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
And I got arrested for piracy. Like, that's bad. Let's see. So I had the two pirates from the first movie, the bald guy and
the comic relief.
Yeah, the comic relief guys. How the heck did they just happen upon, like, they were looking for the pearl, apparently, in a rowboat. On the sea.
On the sea.
And they just so happened to find the island that they beached it on?
Yeah. That was... what do you call it? You said
oh, man. The hand of the writer, hand of God kind of thing. It's like the writer
says, and this shall happen.
Yeah.
I need this to happen, so let it be.
I don't remember. There's a term. I'm blanking on what the exact term is, but, like, yeah. It's just... the hand of the writer, so that was weird. Finding out the pearl only needs 6 people to, like, crew it was another weird thing. I guess clearing out all the extras that they didn't want. Just getting back to the A-team, crew, like...
Thanks everyone for coming out today. We're done. Wait, what?
That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
So... oh, yeah, and so, like, in the escape with the cannibals, and I'm kind of rapid-firing these, but, like, in the escape with the cannibals, Jack is running, and he falls off a cliff.
Oh, yeah.
And he tumbles, like, down a 500-foot cliff.
Oh, no, it was, like, 1,000-foot cliff.
Just stupid high.
And do they have those in the Caribbean?
Right, and he's smashing through bridges and stuff. He's falling all this way. He's not slowing down really at all. And then for some reason, they have him land on the solid ground?
Yeah.
Why? Why not just have him land in a river or the ocean like the rest of his crew did? Because you would be dead if you fell that high onto solid ground. You wouldn't get up from that. That was such a weird little thing.
That was weird.
Again, this, like, is nitpicky, but again, it's like we literally just watched Jack die. Falling from a great height, and now he's getting up and right away. Like, just have him land in the water.
Well, and those things that he hit on his way down didn't slow him down. It's just like boosh, 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 as opposed to boing, boosh, boing. If he bounced down and he got caught up in some vines, that's the way to solve the problem. Yeah. Catch him up in the ropes of the bridges that he's smashing through, and get some swinging going on in there. Like, he breaks through one and he swings this way, smashes through another, swings him this way, breaks into it, swings him down. And then it would even be funny if the last bridge catches on, swings him down, and then he just kind of walks off. Just like walks out.
Jack Sparrow style, like, I planned that.
Like, that was what I meant all along.
Exactly. No, that would have been way more interesting or something. Or again, just landing in water. Something that wouldn't murder your... or gruesomely kill your main character.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
What do you got? Anything before I keep going?
Before you keep going?
I got plenty.
Well, I didn't mention that I just don't like how close Elizabeth got to Jack.
Yeah.
And
weird.
That creeped me out. let's see here. Will is okay with, yeah, we've already talked about a lot of these things. Oh, the swords. They were doing a sword fight, and the two knucklehead sidekicks, they throw their swords
To Elizabeth.
to Elizabeth, who now has two swords.
Right.
Like, what pirate would do that? Oh my gosh, somebody's chasing us. Here, take our weapons.
As we run away.
And now you weaponless girl, now you have two swords.
Yeah, that was a weird choice, and
Yeah.
they did a whole thing of like tossing the swords to each other to fight, but it's like you should have just kept your sword to begin with, and then you could have just started tossing around as you're fighting, and not
Yeah.
here you go, we're gonna run. Oh, now we have to fight, so keep tossing back around. That was weird.
I did have that towards the end. Yeah, okay.
Sorry,
towards the end, Jack had no reason to come back from escaping. He escaped in a rowboat.
Yeah.
And then he comes back.
As is getting destroyed by the Kraken.
As is getting destroyed by this unbelievable monster from the depths of the sea.
Yeah.
That, you know, people would die just probably by looking at, just having a heart attack because it's so terrifying. He is roaring away in a rowboat. And then he comes back. And is it because Elizabeth is his heart's true desire? Because, I don't know. That was, again, why would he come back? I would just have him stay on the boat.
Right, like... Yeah.
Or need something, like leave, have left the compass. Did he still have his compass at that point, didn't he?
I think he did.
Yeah, so all he had to do to solve that problem, he starts running away, and he's like, my compass, oh, where did I put it? Oh, it's in the blah, blah, blah. And then he goes back. But that would make sense because it's Jack. He's selfish.
Right.
He needs the compass. So he wouldn't really go back for Elizabeth.
Right.
But he'd go
or
back
crew,
or his crew. But he'd go back for the compass and Elizabeth. You know? So that would have been an easy fix, is just take his compass, put it back on the boat, have him realize he needed it, and come back.
Yeah.
Because it was actually against his character to be that generous to come back.
Right, and again, it all goes down to like one line. I think Elizabeth said, someday you're gonna wonder what doing something right feels like, or something like that. I don't like that. To me was just a throwaway line, and there's like, it was trying to be profound, and it just didn't work for me. And then of course they try to pay it off with him coming back, but again, he had no reason to go back, because he would have died.
Yeah.
He does die. And like, of course he didn't know that going in, but it's like looking at what's happening to your ship and the monster that's attacking it. Odds are it's like, yeah, probably not gonna make it out, so why would I go back?
Yeah.
Any person, any sense of intelligence would go, yep, I'm not gonna even try that one. Like,
right.
that's their problem. I'm gonna keep rowing.
So what you got? I got a few more, but let's see if they're the same thing.
All right. So one thing that they never explained, which I thought was weird, with Davy Jones, they say he can only step on land once every 10 years.
Right.
What happens if he steps on land twice in 10 years? Like, they never like establish a consequence for him to not be able to step on land more than once.
Yeah, that was just these are the rules and we're gonna play by the rules type thing.
Yeah, but like,
which is fine, but it's always better if you can establish, like a little kid, you don't touch that, and then they touch it, and then nothing happens.
Right, because again, he's gotta have some sense of stakes to not want to, walk on land.
Yeah, right.
It's like, okay, if I step on land twice, I'll just die instantly. Okay, well, that's pretty good motivation not to go walking on land. But then another thing I was wondering is, like, does that same rule apply to his crew?
Right.
Or does that only apply to him? Because he sends them after, like, to save his heart.
Yeah.
The crew says, can they not go on to land now for another 10 years themselves? Or can they go freely onto land whenever they want? Like, that wasn't established either. And I thought that was kind of weird, because it's like, okay, well, now if his crew can only go on land once every 10 years and now they're on land, it's like, okay, well, now the rest of our characters can just stay on land and they're good for 10 years.
Yeah.
There's no need to fight if you have to go into the open water, so...
Well, that sort of throws off the premise of part of the crew, part of the ship, part of the crew, part of the ship.
Yeah.
It's like, apparently you're not.
Right.
You're not part of the ship if you can leave the ship.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was a problem.
Yeah, another thing is, like, everything got super weird and convoluted with Jack and Will and the Dutchman, because Jack is trying to use Will to get the key that he shows him, but then also might use him to try to settle his debt with Jones, and then Will ends up staying on the Dutchman and like he's not part of the crew, but like Davy Jones said he'd accept him as like the first soul in the 100 that Jack needs to pay off his debt. So wouldn't that make him a part of the crew?
Right, and he wasn't even technically dead.
No, he's not. And
So, well, he wasn't, not technically, he wasn't dead. So how does that even work anyway? And again, I think they made up some rules that they didn't have enough rules in play
right,
to make this all make sense.
right, and I think they just didn't have him developed out because again, I felt like Will got really cavalier about his own personal soul and sleeping
Right?
on Davy Jones's ship. Like he tries to find out where this key is by bartering 100 years of service and his soul to Davy Jones in a game of dice, which he would have lost if his dad hadn't stepped in. But he's like, I just wanted to find out where the key was, and then I was just gonna escape and leave. It's like, well, hold on a second. You're saying you're going to offer your oath of 100 years of service to Davy Jones. If you do that, you're stuck there
For 100 years. Your soul.
Right. Like none of the other crew's been able to leave because they're all stuck there.
Right.
And yet for some reason Will feels like he can just barter it away and then just leave because he's not gonna like honor his oath or whatever. It's like, I don't think that's how that works, man.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but let's talk about value here. Your soul, in hopes that he will reveal where the key is. I mean, what a gamble. What a stupid ass gamble.
Right.
Like, I'm going to bet my soul that you're going to reveal the key to me. And of course, movie, right? He does. He reveals the key.
Yeah, he does.
And so now he knows the key is. But, you can't do anything with the key unless you have the chest. And you have to get the key off of Davy Jones.
Right. And then how he gets it off Davy Jones, I think you had a...
Well, yeah. So Davy Jones is sleeping at an organ.
Yes.
Okay, so he's dead or undead. Right. Do the undead sleep? What?
Right.
That's so stupid. No, like you gotta.
Yeah.
And then getting it off of sleeping Davy Jones was, I guess, convenient and a moment of tension. But really, they should have made Will work harder for that key. Or, I mean, that's probably the most dangerous place to put the key. So probably putting on Davy Jones is probably a good story choice.
Yes,
because that's our thing. But they should try to get him off of Davy Jones while Davy Jones is awake, and have a little bit of adventure there and a little bit of tension as he tries to pickpocket Davy Jones.
Right.
As opposed to he's sleeping. Are you serious? He's the king of the undead and he's sleeping. That doesn't ring well.
Something I just thought of now too, which I hadn't thought about before, was the key itself to me was really stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was so unbelievably simple. You didn't actually need the key. You just needed a couple thin pieces of metal, and you could have just picked that lock.
Yeah, sure.
Like, it was literally 2 pieces of metal with, like, 2 flanges on the end.
Yeah.
Stick it in and turn it. It's like, why would you need a key at all?
Or just shoot it with your gun.
Right. I mean, it was like an internal lock, so that's, like, the thing. But it's like, you could have easily just, like, gotten the 2 pieces of, iron, stick them in there and just like lock it and just turn it. It's like, why did you need this key? A simple move with that is you just make it this ridiculously intricate key.
Yeah.
It would have looked cooler, and it would have been more like, oh yeah, I see how you couldn't replicate that even if you tried. You need this key, not this is the most basic thing we could make. Because we ran out of production design budget because we're running over, so we're just gonna make a simple key.
Well, that's a valuable point too, Alex. Because think about what a more interesting key that couldn't be replicated would be. It would make sense because that could be from the underworld,
right?
Right. It would be more elaborate to look at. It would add more interest when they unlock the thing to see things spin and turn or whatever, as opposed to 2 pieces of metal with 2 flanges on it, and it's just open. Well, there's the heart of Davy Jones. There you go, sir. All set.
Such a MacGuffin.
Plus the whole idea of Davy Jones's heart on land, getting the heart, controls Davy Jones was so convoluted.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I just don't understand the story process there.
I don't either.
He needs a heart. We're going to take out his heart. We're going to put it in a box. I guess it's a way to make a story happen, but
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty weird. And then back to Elizabeth and some strained characters. She makes out with Jack,
Yeah.
which totally against her character.
And creepy.
And then she chains him to the ship that's getting destroyed by the Kraken.
Yep.
Which is completely against her character, because she, at the beginning of this movie, the end of the last one, she respected him. She demands everyone call him Captain Jack, right? And now she's a straight up murderer.
Yeah.
She like murders a friend of hers by chaining him to the ship.
Right.
And then she says, "I'm not sorry I did it."
Yeah.
What? Are you freaking kidding me? It would have been better for her to be like, I'm so ashamed. I can't believe I did this. I have to redeem myself. Not obviously not in those words, but
I'm sorry, Jack.
But literally they had her say, "I'm not sorry." You're not sorry? Are you serious? That was really bad.
Well, they completely recant that at the end.
Right.
When they go to Tia Dawn and she's like, she's acting all remorseful and guilty, and then Tia Dawn's like, "What would you guys do to bring back Jack?" And she's like, "Anything." I'm like, wait, what?
Again.
First you said you're not sorry, but now you want to bring him back? Like,
right.
You killed him. What was the point then, other than, like, that's supposed to settle the debt with Davy Jones? But it's like, why would she say, "I'm not sorry"? It was totally unnecessary.
She was sorry.
Yeah, and
it was bad. It was against her character, and you can't sin against your characters, right, unless you're doing some sort of complex story arc, which is great, and you can do that with complex characters. This is an action movie, so we're concentrating on the action.
Right, it's more plot.
It's more plot, and so you don't really have the time to arc those characters like that.
Yeah.
But you can't just say, "Hey, this is an established character," and then just screw it all up and twist the way they are and make them who they're not. That just it was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I only have a couple more things.
And
so one of them, this is just a little nitpicky, but also just kind of ridiculous. Where the heck did the massive crew on the Pearl come from? So, like, they start with their small crew.
Yeah.
Going to Tortuga. They're trying to find souls, to trade for Davy Jones. And then they say they only get 4.
Right.
But then later, when they're battling Davy Jones, they have, like, a full ship, like, probably 200 plus people to shoot cannons, fire this thing. Where did they all come from?
Right.
Like, I get it, extras that can be expensive to have for, an entire shoot, but come on.
And then they all end up being dead by the end, right?
Right,
Because the only one left are our principal characters.
Yeah, your principal crew, like, they're the ones that escape because everyone else dies. It's like, that was just, to me, I was like, where did these people come from?
Oh.
That was kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And then there's a close-up of the Kraken at the end. And, like, the CG throughout this movie was really good, except for that one shot.
Yeah, it was not.
Like, the Kraken, like, roars or something, and
opens its mouth.
Yeah, and I swear, like, the teeth look like they're flopping. Like, they're soft. Like, they're supposed to be teeth. They're supposed to be hard and sharp. And, like, as it roars, for some reason, all the teeth to me are like, all the ones around the edges look like they weren't rendered correctly, animated correctly. And, like, they're moving and like, they're, like, waving. Kind of like they're just soft, like, balloons, essentially.
Yeah.
Getting blown by wind. And so it's like, that, to me, again, super nitpicky thing.
Well, I feel it too. I saw the first time I saw it, because all the CGI in the movie is really fantastic,
right?
Except for that one shot, and it's really I feel like it's Johnny Depp standing in front of a green screen.
Yeah, and
that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
but it was.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I had was just the whole thing with Jack and Elizabeth. I know the whole reason was to create some sort of friction with Will and Elizabeth's relationship.
Yes.
However, they could have done it in such a different way.
Yeah.
Because Norrington ends up showing up.
Right.
And, like, he sails with Elizabeth and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
why would you not try to do something between Elizabeth and Norrington, who was, trying to court her through the whole first movie?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
right,
because, like, again,
and she's known him.
And she's known him. She grew up with him. She was engaged to him at one point. That would have been a more a more logical route to go.
Yeah.
That still would have made, like friction between Will and Elizabeth, but without being totally weird with Elizabeth and Jack getting it on like that. Mm-mm.
And so we're actually going to use that
Yep.
that same concept of Elizabeth and Norrington in our pitch.
Yeah. So you want to get into it?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah, so we wanted to remake this one, clearly.
Yeah, we want to remake it. We don't want a sequel to this. We want to remake this.
Yeah, so. Yeah, would you like to pitch, please?
Yeah, so here's... Oh, yeah, pitch, please. There you go. So here's our pitch for the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Will and Elizabeth are about to be married. They're in a wedding ceremony, and Will puts on a ring on Elizabeth's finger that is a beautiful deep blue stone with white swirling around it. He said it is the one that he still had from his mother, and his mother got it from his father, Bootstrap Bill. Just as Will goes to put it on Elizabeth's finger, the minister is shot dead. Beckett from the East India Trading Company enters the scene and threatens them with execution for piracy unless they agree to help find Jack. The East India Trading Company wants to find the Trident of the Sea, which will control the seas, so they need Jack's compass, and so Will goes to find Jack. So we're ditching Davy Jones's heart. We're doing something new called the Trident of the Sea.
Yeah, it's completely created by us. So.
Yes. Jack is sailing the Pearl with his crew when Davy Jones comes upon him and tells him that Jack owes him for the Pearl. Jack negotiates for more time. He offers to find the Trident of the Sea to secure the Pearl permanently. Elizabeth escapes from Beckett, steals the pardons. She finds a ship in Tortuga, captained by the disgraced Norrington. Norrington wants to capture Jack and return him to justice to regain his position with the East India Trading Company. Both of them want to find Jack and Will.
Yeah, and so Will ends up finding Jack, and he tries to take the compass, but Jack strands him on an island. And there, the pirate group finds Will, and this pirate group is captained by Captain Prescott, a woman who is a jilted lover of Jack and wants him dead. Will tells Prescott and her crew that he can help them find Jack, and actually ends up joining her crew. Meanwhile, Elizabeth and Norrington start having this budding romance after a lot of arguing and bickering, and kind of get this rising romantic tension, but she still stays true to Will, and nothing actually happens. And so all the ships and the crew from Jack and the Pearl, Will and Captain Prescott and Elizabeth and Norrington end up finding each other, and ends kind of with this massive battle. And Davy Jones ends up arriving and destroys the Pearl and sends it down to Davy Jones's locker by using the Kraken to destroy it, kind of like in this one. He takes Jack with him, as payment, and leaves everyone else just kind of without what they need. But Jack is able to escape and ends up stealing Prescott's ship along with his compass. And so Davy Jones ends up taking Will hostage instead, because he wants leverage over someone to get him this trident. And Will ends up, Will has this wedding ring called the Eye of the Storm, which we find out later is the key to unlocking what holds the trident. And so that leaves kind of Prescott and Elizabeth together.
So they end up, the ending is they have to find Jack and Will. Davy Jones says he'll enjoy destroying them all unless they can get him the trident. And he can't get it himself because it's on land in a place called El Dorado. Ooh. So we've added 3 new elements to this story. We got the trident. We've got the what was it called? Trident. We've got El Dorado we're going to throw in here.
Yeah.
And then we've got the ring, which we're calling, oh my gosh.
Eye of the Storm.
Then we've got the ring we're calling the Eye of the Storm. And so we're ditching the whole idea of Davy Jones's heart.
Yeah, but still keeping Davy Jones, because he's a fun element and stuff like that.
And the Kraken.
Yeah.
And that's our pitch.
Yeah. So that was, in a nutshell, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Thank you for listening. As always, we just enjoy doing this, and these are our ideas. We're doing this for fun. We're not trying to offend anyone. And we'd love to hear what you think about our pitches and what we, are talking about. And we'd love to, be able to start a conversation, do more of that. Again, check us out on social media. We're on Instagram. And we're also, again, all of our episodes are on YouTube and Spotify. So if you haven't seen any of others, go check them out because they're pretty cool. We do say so ourselves.
Yeah. Have a great time. We'll see you next time on Pitch Please.